Hey, what's up you guys? Today I'm doing my March wrap up and I had such a good reading month in March. I read 16 books and pretty much all of them were like really good. However, I will not be speaking about 16 books in this video because a lot of the books that I did read were Japanese recommendations or Japanese authors. So I made a whole video for those books and it will be linked in the description if you want to go check it out. There's some like great recommendations in there. I really enjoyed almost all of the books, or all of them actually, not almost. Like I did enjoy all of them. So definitely go and check that out if you've not seen it already. I do like a little vegan sushi mukbang. It's really fun. And then some of the other books that I have not talked about in this video will be in my LGBT Classics episode 2 video, which will be up this Sunday, hopefully, if I can get everything sorted. I'm like halfway through my final book for that video, so I'm sure it'll be fine. So once that video is up, I'll edit the description for this one if you're watching this in the future, and have the link to that there as well if you want to go check that out, which hopefully you will, because again, spoilers, but they're all really great books and I'm excited to make that video. So yeah, if you enjoy this video, please leave a like and please subscribe. I'm excited to talk about these books. I had such a good reading month in general, like it was really great. So definitely leave me any thoughts in the comments on any of the books I talk about, and let's just get started. I decided not to make any like script for this video because I don't have that many books to talk about, so if I'm a little bit more rambly than usual, that is why. But the first book I have to talk about is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, and this is the sequel to Chain of Gold, which is the second book in the Last Hours mini-series within the overall Shadowhunter series, of which this is probably like book 15 or 16. So you need a lot of background knowledge to enjoy these books, but I really enjoyed it. I did not love Chain of Gold. I thought it was one of the weakest first books out of all of the Shadowhunter series, but Chain of Iron I really did enjoy it, and I think that was because I was more used to the characters. For some reason the characters in Chain of Gold just didn't really click with me. Like I liked them all, but they didn't like stick with me in the way that most Shadowhunter characters and other series normally do. But in Chain of Iron, I was like used to them and I was like, I knew who was who and I did really enjoy it. The one thing that I have to complain about in this book though is the miscommunication trope. I hate miscommunication. As most people do, it's kind of annoying. And there is such just a stupid miscommunication near the end of this book where it's basically just because a character doesn't finish his sentence. And I don't want to give any spoilers or anything, but it was so infuriating to read and it's really annoying me. But I gave this 4 stars. I did really enjoy it, much more than Chain of Gold, although that was also 4 stars, but just like internally, I enjoyed this a lot more and I'm really excited for the next book now. I cannot believe I have to wait a whole year. This is the first time that I have to actually wait for a Cassandra Clare book because I have been reading them, I only started reading them in like the end of last year. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this series. However, it's not one you can just jump into without reading the other Shadowhunter series. Like this one had a lot of references and stuff to the other ones. So yeah, if you have read the other ones, I definitely recommend checking this one out. But if you have not, definitely start with like the Mortal Instruments. Another book that I read this month was We by this author whose name I'll not even try and butcher, but this is a Russian classic dystopian. It was written in 1920, so it came out before 1984 by George Orwell, and George Orwell was influenced by this book, and reading this after reading 1984 was really interesting because you could tell where George Orwell took stuff from because the plots are pretty similar. There is a similar kind of Adam and Eve theme about a woman corrupting a man, which you can judge for yourself whether you like that. Me and Rosie, who I read the book with, thought it was an interesting parallel, but at the same time, it's like, But yeah, this society, so it's a dystopian, this society is like perfect as most of these novels start out, or perfect, and everything is like run very uniformly, and everything is all about logic and formulas, and I struggled a little bit understanding parts of this book because the whole society revolves around like mathematical formulas, which is an interesting concept, but when I was reading it as someone that is not, mathematically smart, some of it kind of went over my head, and I think I just kind of had to do one of those things where you're like reading it and you're like, okay, I don't fully understand this, but I also don't need to really understand it to fully know what is happening in the plot, if you know what I mean. So I did really enjoy this. However, it was like a more difficult read. It's one of the more difficult classics I've read in a while. I don't normally struggle with like the writing style in classics or anything like that, but this one I did have to, actually use Google a few times to make sure I knew what was going on. So I did really like it, and I think it's a really interesting like dystopian novel, but I would not recommend it for like people that are like new to classics or anything like that. And I think that if you do read it, do not feel ashamed of like googling like what is going on, or like checking up with Wikipedia. I do that sometimes, like the Wikipedia plot summary. I'll like read up to where I am and just make sure that I've fully understood what was going on in like plots. I've done that for a few classics, and I haven't had to do it in like a while. I haven't had to do it since 2019 really, but with this book I had to because it was kind of difficult. So I would recommend it, and it was fun. If you like dystopians, it's really nice to see like the very earliest dystopian novels, because a lot of people think 1984 by George Orwell is the first, but that's not true. There's like quite a few before that. So yeah, I would recommend this, but be prepared, like it is a slightly more difficult read. I also listened to some audiobooks this month. So the first one was The Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. And Stephen Graham Jones is the author of The Only Good Indians. And I really have been enjoying audiobooks recently. I used to not really like them, and it's took me a while to get used to them and know what I can and can't do while listening to an audiobook to really fully comprehend everything that's going on. But I did enjoy this. It was really short. It was only like a couple hours. But this is just a horror novel about a group of teenagers who pull a prank on one of their friends using a mannequin, and then the mannequin maybe comes to life. It's very psychological. The main character is like very mentally suffering throughout the book, so that's interesting to read, and you don't really know what's real and what's not. He is in like a state of paranoia. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a really good audiobook. I don't know how engaging it would really be as a normal read. I don't know if my enjoyment of it was mostly because of the audiobook, because reading it or listening to it as an audiobook, because of the horror aspects, was really interesting and really fun. I don't know if the plot is actually that strong for you to read it as like a physical novel, but I would highly recommend the audiobook at least anyway. I thought it was really fun. I listened to it again in a few hours. I just listened to it while I was on a walk, so if you are looking for a short audiobook for like a walk or something, I would definitely recommend this. It's not like amazing, it's not like mind-blowing, but for what it is, I did enjoy it, and I do want to just read more stuff by Stephen Graham Jones, because The Only Good Indians was better than this, but that was really good, and then this was also good, so I would just want to read like some more of his stuff because he is like very talented. Next, I read The Drawing of the Three by Stephen King, and this is the second book in the Dark Tower series, following on from The Gunslinger that I read last month. And I done this as kind of a buddy read, except not really, because the people I was buddy reading with read it in 2 days, and it took me like 2.5 weeks. So I basically just read it on my own. I didn't really enjoy this, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series for now. I am interested in continuing it at some point in the future, but for now, I just have so many other books that I'm more interested in. But this one kind of follows on from The Gunslinger, except it's completely tonally different, but in a good way. I enjoyed the tone of this one and the writing style of this one so much more than The Gunslinger. This one follows the main character, who is the gunslinger, as he recruits 3 people from our world, like the real human Earth, to go into his fantasy world, to go on his journey with him. So the Drawing of the Three is like the 3 characters that he meets. They are all pretty horrible people. One of them is a drug addict. He's not that bad, although he does have like a really bad attitude. And then one of them is a woman, a black woman, who has DID. She has like a split personality type thing going on, and she is insufferable. And I don't like to be like, snowflakey or like a zoomer, but the racial stuff in this book was a little bit uncomfortable. I think it was a little bit overdone. And I know that Stephen King is very much one of those people that's like, fiction writers can write anything, which, to be honest, I do mostly agree with. But I feel like this was like a little bit too much. I don't know. I didn't really like reading her parts, and that was kind of what turned me off the book. I really enjoyed the first half, or the first third of the book that was about the drug addict character. And then once we got into the black woman with the DID, the racial stuff plus the mental health stuff was like, it was not great. And then the third one is like a serial killer, and his bit was more interesting again, and that did make me like the book a lot more. Once I was basically out of the section about the black woman, because it was just the way it was all written, I was like, I do not like this. I did enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm not intrigued enough with the story to continue for now. So yeah, this is kind of a rambly mess, but basically, this was my worst book of the month, and it was a good book and it was entertaining, but the racial stuff was like what brought it down. It was like just uncomfortable, to be honest, to read. And then finally, I also listened to Skyward by Brandon Sanderson on audiobook, and this is a YA, this is Brandon Sanderson's YA series. It is a sci-fi as well instead of fantasy, so that's fun. And it follows our main character, Spencer, as she joins flight school and tries to become a pilot. And there's a lot more to it than that. Her father was a pilot when she was younger, and then he betrayed his teammates by running away from the battle, so he's branded as a coward. And then she is like not supposed to get into flight school because she's the daughter of a coward, but she manages to get in, and then it's about her trying to prove to everyone else and to herself that she is not a coward, and also uncover some more secrets about her father and why he did what he did. And then there's a lot of other secrets that come out and stuff, and I did really enjoy this. I thought the characters were excellent. I loved the characters, to be honest. There is like a talking AI spaceship, there is a slug, there is like her teacher is like really cool, there's a love interest, kind of, that doesn't really happen that much in this book, but it's like slowly builds up, who is also like really nice. He starts off as kind of a douche, and then he gets a lot nicer, and it's like nice to watch that evolution. I really did enjoy this, and I've actually started listening to book 2 on audiobook already. I haven't finished it. I think I'm like halfway through, if even that, not even. And I just thought this was really fun and really intriguing. It kept you guessing like the whole way through, and there was just so many little questions and mysteries, and Brandon Sanderson is just like so good at setting things up that you know that the payoff is going to be really good, and he did not disappoint. I really loved this. Like the second I finished it, I was like jumped straight onto book 2 because I just had to know what happened next. So I would definitely recommend this. I think that his writing style is definitely toned down to make it more YA. Like you can tell that this is a YA book instead of an adult book, and that's not a bad thing, obviously. But it was interesting to see because I've only read his adult stuff before, and I haven't read any Brandon Sanderson in like a year, and I really love him. He was one of my favourite authors of 2019, so it's nice to like get back into his stuff. And I'll maybe start Stormlight this year, I don't know. I'm not like in a rush to start Stormlight, but yeah, it was really fun just to get some Brandon Sanderson into my month, and I would highly recommend this if you are into sci-fi, or even if you're not. It's not like heavy into like the sciencey stuff or anything like that. It's just a really fun like space set story. If you have read any of these books, let me know your thoughts down below, please. I would love to hear about them. Especially if you have read The Drawing of the Three, let me know if you had similar thoughts to me. The people I buddy read it with like really loved it. They were so engaged with it, and I just didn't get hooked in the same way. But I'm glad I did read it, and I think I will return to the series at some point in the future. I hope that also my reviews this month were coherent. I decided that I just wanted to give it a try, just rambling and talking off the top of my head instead of writing like a script, because I feel like sometimes the script thing does come off a bit too scripty, but I don't know, it's just trying something new. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and please subscribe, and like I said, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in my next video. I don't know why I'm doing this again. I done it in like 3 videos the other week and I hated myself for it, but yeah, okay, bye.